and it looks like it's going.
Perfect. Well, Michael, do you have any questions about confidentiality or this being a safe space?
No, that all made sense, so thank you.
Perfect. I guess the next little portion of what I want to get into is kind of just asking you a few questions, just to get to know you a little bit better and get to
Hmm.
know what other factors are at play in your day-to-day life. If at any point you don't feel comfortable with answering one question or would rather just have some time, just let me know and we can either skip that question or come back to it at another point. If you have any questions, you can always ask me.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. I guess just to confirm, can you just tell me again your age, date of birth,
Yeah.
all those basic information?
Well, that stuff. Yeah, I'm 57 and date of birth is June 27th, 1968.
Okay, perfect. And um, can I ask in simple terms, what was the main reason to seek therapy?
Yeah, well, I guess um, the last while, I just, I just haven't really been feeling like doing anything. And I've been feeling kind of irritable and just keeping to myself a lot. And I don't know, there's just nothing I feel like I want to do. And I don't know, the dishes just pile up and um, kind of wonder what I'm doing at work. Like,
Okay.
yeah.
Um, can I ask a little bit more about like you feeling irritable? Um, You mentioned that just is it just irritable and then like things are piling up, or is it a combination of things?
Yeah, I guess it's, um, like I have two kids who are 30 and 24. Um, and the 24-year-old moved out like 6 months ago, and the 30-year-old moved out like whatever, 10 years ago. Um,
Mhm.
and it just, yeah, I guess I just feel like I don't really see them much. They're both busy with their jobs and their lives. And
Mm.
yeah, I guess I just feel like maybe I haven't handled the transition well.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's completely understandable. Um, yeah, one day you have your whole family with you, and the next day it kind of just seems
yeah,
like an empty nest.
yeah.
May I ask, besides your children, do you have anyone else that lives with you that you interact with often?
And just a dog and a cat. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, I also have a dog and a cat,
yeah,
so
okay.
they can be very fun to be around
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
Um, okay, I guess there's just a typical question that we're required to everyone just to check in.
Hmm.
So I guess have you ever had any thoughts about suicide or harming yourself?
No, no. I'm not always excited about getting up in the morning, but
Okay, and have you ever had any thoughts about harming other people or
no,
putting yourself in a situation like that?
no.
No? Okay. Um, so just moving on from that, um, may I ask if you partake in any alcohol usage, any drugs, or smoking?
No, no. I mean, I used to drink, but I haven't had a drink in like 12 years.
Okay. And did you stop for any specific reason? Um,
Uh, well, just that um, it wasn't it wasn't serving me and it wasn't good. I knew it wasn't good for me. And yeah, at the time I was married and the relationship was having problems, and the booze was a part of what was causing the problems. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Um, and have you ever had like therapy before?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've done
Um,
therapy on and off for years.
okay. And were you doing therapy at the time?
That's a good question. I think we're probably in and out of couples therapy. I was probably doing some of my own therapy. I started therapy in my 20s and I did it intensely, I think maybe for, I can't remember now, but maybe 5 years. And then I would just go back for a few months every now and then as sort of things were weird or tough or if I needed a checkup. So I was probably doing some therapy at the time, but yeah, I don't specifically remember.
Okay. Just to do a quick recap to see
Mhm.
if I'm missing any points. You mentioned that you've been feeling like irritable. Um, may I say like low energy?
Hmm.
You said that one of the main factors was um your children leaving the house, starting their
Hmm.
lives, and maybe like lack of socializing on a day to day at home.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Then you
And I've
also
been
mentioned that.
socializing less in general as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
May I ask about that?
Yeah, well, it just sort of seems like I'm just going to go out and have the same conversations with the same people, and you know, it just seems like a bunch of energy for no gain.
Okay. Um, and before you were feeling like this, um, would you often go out with people and interact with them?
I go to, I have some people that I would like meet up with once a month to play board games. Uh, Another friend I would have lunch with every now and then.
Okay. And now it just doesn't feel like it's worth going into those
No,
outings.
no.
Okay. Um, and may I ask, how is socializing at work going?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I get along with my colleagues. Uh, we're not friends or anything. Like they're fine people, but they're not uh, anyone I'd be friends with. So it's fine. I just try to do my work
Hmm.
when I'm there.
Okay. So quite often, just go to work, come back home, and just do your day to day without like much socializing.
No, I mean, my work involves sales, so I'm often talking to clients, but
Okay.
when I get home, I don't want to talk to anyone.
Yeah, I can imagine having
Mm,
to interact with people all day long kind of drains your social battery, right?
yeah, for sure.
Just to finish, some very quick questions on this area. I guess you mentioned that you did therapy on and off, like
Hmm.
for quite a while. Um, have you ever been diagnosed with anything there?
No,
No.
no.
Um, do you think that you might have anything in specific, or you might be part of any group?
Uh, I don't know if it's diagnosable. I've always had a strong baseline of anxiety, and there have been periods, like when I was a teen, at one point in my 20s and in my 30s, just having a point of like low mood. Like, I don't know if it'd be called depression, but
Okay.
but I've never actually been diagnosed with anything.
Okay. And at this current time, would any of those resonate with you?
I guess that, and again, I mean, I'm not but the depression thing, like just not feeling like just not feeling motivation to do anything. I just find I want to
Okay.
sleep a lot.
Thank you for sharing that with me. I
Yeah.
know that sometimes even just thinking about it can be quite difficult.
Hmm.
And coming here today, like seeking support, that takes quite a lot of effort as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, besides therapy, can I ask for your general physical health?
It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. I could exercise more. I could probably
Yeah.
lose 10 pounds.
And in the past, do you have any noticeable medical history?
No. Uh, no.
Yeah. Okay. So would you say that you take any medications?
I've been prescribed like sleeping pills a couple of times, but I haven't had them in a long time.
Okay. And would those be in situations where you're just finding it difficult to sleep, or would you say that there's something going on in your life that make you find it difficult to sleep?
Yeah, well, the last time was the marriage I mentioned in the booze. Uh, when that ended, um, yeah, I was quite messed up, and my doctor kindly prescribed me, like 10 sleeping pills or something, like just something to kind of get me through a couple of weeks as I adjusted. And I didn't even end up taking them all, but there were a couple of nights where it just helped get me to
Okay.
sleep.
Thank you for sharing that. Um, I guess like the next portion of questions are gonna be more of your childhood and your family, kind of
Mhm.
getting to know that side of you. Um, may I ask, how was your childhood?
Yeah, my childhood, I guess, had its ups and downs. Uh, I grew up in like a upper middle class neighborhood, so I had a nice house, I had a bunch of toys, um, I had nice summer holidays, but my parents split when I was 7, uh, and both my parents are kind of emotionally distant people.
Okay.
So in some ways, I had a lot of physical comfort in my childhood, which was lovely,
Mhm.
but not really any emotional comfort.
Okay. Um, can I ask how that stayed with you until now?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I mean, when I first went to therapy in my 20s, mid late 20s, uh, my therapist then asked if I'd been impacted by the divorce, and I said no. But then as we talked about it, I realized I have really vivid memories of like the day my
Mhm.
dad left and a couple of other moments. And with the therapist, I realized that actually the most vivid memories I have from my childhood are from that period. So it's definitely something that's reverberated down. Uh, and it's just always kind of a thing. Like my mom has carried anger towards, well, he's passed away now, but my mom carried anger towards my dad for a long time. So even though the divorce was over and everything was settled, there was still this boiling pot of anger that always
Mhm.
just made everything feel a bit weird.
Okay. Well, it definitely takes a lot of effort to get that much insight about yourself and your childhood. I can
Hmm.
tell that you've like put a lot of time into it,
Yeah.
which is something good, you know?
Hmm.
Um, well, can I ask a little bit more about your family then? You mentioned that your parents divorced when they were young. Your father passed away. Um, Can I ask about your ex-wife, your children?
Yeah. Um, the ex-wife thing is complicated. Uh, so there's the mother of my children. So I have the two kids with one mother, and then we split up 20 years ago. And then a few years later after that, I got married. And then that ended 10 years ago.
Okay. Okay. And are you seeing anyone right now?
No.
No. Okay. And then you said you have a son that's 30 years old and another one that's 24, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. And can I ask what your relationship is like with them?
Uh, on one, and I don't know if I'm just, I feel like we've always gotten along quite well. Um, but I find this stage difficult because it's hard to make time to get them to make time to spend time together.
Hmm.
And so I don't know when we are together, it seems good, like we have a good time. Uh, so I don't think I've done anything to estrange them, but
Mm-hmm. Okay.
yeah,
I get that. Um, can I ask about your mom?
yeah. Uh, yeah, well, my mom lives in Montreal and she lives in a seniors residence.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, she I realized this later in life. I think she has a lot of anxiety. So she's always been a fairly prickly person to be around. But,
Okay.
I try to see her a couple of times a year and speak to her a couple of times a month.
Mm-hmm. And you live here in Toronto, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Do you have any other family members, siblings, uncles, aunts, cousins?
Yeah, I've got some uncles and aunts that I get along with, but I'm not close to. So I see them once a year, once every 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly they live around Ontario. Uh, and then I have a brother and two sisters. One sister lives in Portugal. And then I have some step siblings. I have four step siblings because my dad got remarried.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Okay.
pretty close with two of my step siblings.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Um, moving on from this section, can
Mhm.
I ask what do you do for work?
Yeah, I work at a bank. I do sales for film producers to help
Oh,
film and
wow.
TV productions. Yeah.
That sounds very cool.
Uh, yeah, except it's at a bank. So,
So, how would you describe your time at the bank?
yeah, well, I guess I don't come from banking, so it's not something I ever aspired to, but the
Mm-hmm.
job got offered and it seemed interesting and also it's stable, so I took it. Uh, so it's fine, but it's a lot of sitting. I sit at a laptop all day and I do a lot of emailing and filing documents,
Okay.
um, and then dealing with bank bureaucracy.
Mm-hmm. And
Just
this was not the area you wanted to get into.
no, I mean, I've always worked in the film industry, and uh, this possibility came up 3 years ago, and it just seemed like an opportunity to get out of in a lot of the film industry is freelance work, so you never
Okay.
know where your next job's going to be. And
Mm-hmm.
the industry's been going through a lot of changes, so it seemed like a safe place to kind of still be in the industry, but have a solid paycheck. Uh,
And
yeah, and also the hours are reasonable, whereas when you work actually on film or TV shows, the hours are ridiculous. So I hadn't really
okay.
been planning on it, but it seemed like a good opportunity at the time.
Mm-hmm. How long have you been working there now?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Okay. From 1 to 10. and 10 being you love it, you it's the best thing ever, and 0 you hate it, how much would you
No, I'm
score it?
probably like I have three.
At 3.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you mentioned how you're like on the laptop all day long and your social battery runs out and you're just sitting down looking at the screen, and that just doesn't seem like the type of activity you want to do on a daily basis.
No.
Um,
And just I like helping the filmmakers, but I'm just trying to make money for a huge bank. Like there's all the bank
okay,
cares about is how much money we're making.
okay. Um, can I ask how that makes you feel?
Uh, well, it's just not I like making money to eat, but it's just not that interesting to me. It's not a value that I have. And the
Okay.
working in film productions, you're part of a team of people all trying to accomplish the same thing. And sometimes it's a stupid project, sometimes it's an interesting project, but there's kind of a team to it. Whereas at the bank, uh, it's just a big hierarchy, and the only thing that matters is how much money are you making for the bank.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, how that would affect anyone.
Hmm.
It's a completely different area, completely different activity. Um, is there any specific job that you would like to apply to or change into?
Uh, I don't know. I just feel like I'm in my 50s. What else am I gonna do? You know?
Okay. And has it ever, like, how often do you think about this?
Uh, I guess I think a lot about how much I would like to not be at the bank. I don't know if I think that much about the alternatives because there just don't seem to be any.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Um, just changing the topic a little bit
Hmm.
into a different area. Do you do any volunteer work? Anything outside of work?
Yeah, I do. I volunteer facilitating uh, addiction peer support meetings.
Oh, that sounds very interesting. Do you want to tell me a little bit more about it?
Yeah, well, I do it once a week, and it's a particular group called Smart Recovery. So it's a particular system of peer support, and it's
Mm-hmm.
meetings for people who have loved ones that are suffering addiction, not for the people suffering addiction themselves. Uh, yeah, and I came across the group a few years ago because I had someone in my life who was suffering an addiction, and I just found it really helpful. And then the facilitator asked me if I wanted to do the training, and so I did, and I've been doing that for a couple of years. And yeah, it's probably the one thing. It's really hard because people are suffering through awful situations sometimes, but it is the one thing in my week that at the end of it, I feel like I've done something.
Okay, that's very wholesome.
Hmm.
And how
Hmm.
long does they usually last?
Uh, 75 to 90 minutes.
Okay. And would you like to do it more often or for it to be longer?
Uh, I don't think it should be longer, but yeah, I guess I would just have to. I mean, I guess when I had my son still living with me, there was sort of less time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it is also uh, it takes a lot of energy.
Okay. Um, so you would say that with that amount of social interaction, you're good. You or would you want more or less than that on a
Uh,
weekly basis?
I think for that, it's probably good what it is. You could maybe do a bit more, but it's pretty intense because people are. living through
Mm-hmm.
difficult things.
Okay. Um, I did ask you a little bit about your social interactions on your weekly basis.
Hmm.
But is there any type of activity or social interaction that you would find fun or like you would be interested in doing besides the volunteering?
Well, I had friends that I would get together with to play board games. I have another friend I would get together with sometimes and make music. But I find like I just recently I just don't find that enjoyable.
Okay.
Just takes a lot of
And
effort to organize it all and then
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I definitely get that. I guess it kind of happens a little bit with everyone.
Hmm.
Um, and especially when you're like working all day long and using that social battery, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, I have a question for you.
Hmm.
You could feel free to say that you don't want to answer it or do you want to skip ahead and come back. Um, it's just a question that we always have to ask, the same as
Hmm.
previous one I asked. But have you ever felt or experienced any type of abuse? It can be physical, verbal, emotional, sexual.
No. No.
No. Okay. Um, have you ever experienced any traumatic events?
Um, I guess not trauma. Splitting up with my kid's mom was hard, like splitting up the family. Uh, yeah, that was an awful time. And then, yeah, my parents going through their divorce. Then my mom got married and divorced again. So, uh, so I don't know if that counts as trauma. Like it wasn't, but yeah, those were difficult times.
Mhm. Well, honestly, the trauma is whatever you consider it to be like a very important
Hmm.
situation that has happened to you, right?
Yeah.
Um, so if you consider that that was like a turning point in your life, like something to that affected like more than just your day to day, like yeah. Um, would you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Uh, I don't know if there's anything particular in it other than what you can probably imagine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know that you mentioned that your parents divorced and your mom had a lot of anger towards the
Hmm.
situation. And you also mentioned that your mom was somewhat of an anxious person throughout your childhood.
Hmm.
Um, would you say, like, would you mind elaborating a little bit more on, I guess, your family, if anyone else had any anxiety or stress or sadness, like ongoing?
Um, yeah, I mean, I guess uh, both my parents are kind of, I would say, a little bit odd. Uh,
Okay.
my siblings and we have no basis for making this diagnosis, but we have started to wonder if our father was on the spectrum, just
Mhm,
from his emotional distance and some other oddities about him.
mhm.
Uh, and then through my family, there's alcoholism.
Okay.
Yeah, like my dad, I would say he was high functioning, but drank a lot. My mom did drink a lot, went into recovery. I have a few aunts and uncles on her side, so there's a lot of alcoholism through the family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, did you say like the aunts and uncles were from your mom's side?
Uh, I have one aunt on my father's side, and I don't know. She seems like a very nice person, well-adjusted, nice person. But my mom had six siblings. One passed away, but the others are all still alive. But I think there was alcohol abuse with four of them.
Okay.
And they're definitely an odd batch of people. In fact, one of my uncles on that side, I think he's self-diagnosed as being on the spectrum. So,
Okay. Um, can I ask if any of that affected you throughout your life?
uh, not the alcoholism, not directly. Um, yeah, my mom's drinking was always out of the house, so I never saw it. And my dad was always under control. He drank a lot, but he was always under control. So I don't think I even realized that I had alcoholic parents. But, from learning about it, there are impacts that it has, but it was more subtle. And yeah, I don't know, my uncle who thinks he's on the spectrum he's mellowed out a lot now, but he was a bit of a
Okay.
frightening weirdo when we were kids.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that. I guess have a couple more questions about that area. I guess
Hmm.
more of like the family history that I kind of like missed earlier. But can I ask about your culture?
Yeah. I mean, my heritage would be Scottish and Irish. But my family's moved to Canada like in the 1800s. So just sort of regular European middle class.
Mm, okay.
Yeah.
Um, can I ask about what's your religion?
Yeah. So mine is uh, I don't really have a religion. I'm interested in spirituality and religion, but I don't have one that I specifically practice. But I was raised Catholic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, perfect. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. Um, then I guess we're almost done. We're almost done. We're
Mhm.
getting closer. I know I've been asking a lot of questions and I appreciate your patience with me. Um, moving to a completely different topic. Have you ever had any history of injuries?
No. I got a bad back, but no
Okay.
injury per se.
And your bad back did anything like make it happen or it just came with
Yeah.
time?
I think just with time.
Okay. Um, legal wise, have you ever had any
No.
situations with that? No? Okay. You mentioned how like you are not very happy with your work.
Hmm.
But would you say there's anything that stresses you out on your day to day?
Well, the work does. The job is stressful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, besides that, is there anything else that stresses you out?
No, just that, but it's enough. Like it's a high pressure job with the clients are always in a panic. And then with the bank's
Mhm.
demands, like everything feels everything feels sort of on the cusp of disaster working at the bank.
Okay. Okay. Um, and then mm, you're with the situation at home and your family, your kids not being at home anymore. Would you consider that some sort of stress or just a situation that makes you feel a little bit down?
It just makes me feel down. Makes me wonder
Okay.
if I did something wrong or
Hmm. No, I definitely get that. Um, in the past, has there been anything that stressed you out a lot or?
uh well, going through two divorces is stressful. Uh when I worked in the film industry is very stressful, but it would kind of like be stressful and then it would release and it would be stressful and it would release. So there's kind of a bit of
Mm-hmm.
an adrenaline junkie part of it. Um, so it was definitely stressful, but it wasn't, like the bank job now is like a grinding stress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, on a positive note, can I ask if you have any support systems, anyone that you can rely on?
Mm, yeah, I mean the dog and the cat. Uh, I'm pretty close with one of my sisters and one of my stepsisters.
Okay.
Um, and then, yeah, I mean, I've got some friends, but like I said, I just haven't felt like reaching out to them.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
And can I ask what are your strengths?
Uh, I guess I feel like I'm a hard worker. Like I kind of was been able to put my head down and get through stuff. Like raising my
Okay.
kids, going through the divorce, going through the second divorce, but making sure my kids were okay. Like that was always my focus.
Mm-hmm.
Was, you know, and I was always able to keep that focus for the most part.
Okay. That's very good to know. Um, you said that you don't follow a specific religion, but you do believe in spirituality.
Hmm.
Um, would you consider that as one of your support systems or one of your strengths, something that you can rely on?
Not really. It's more of an intellectual pursuit, I think.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Um, then we're almost done. I know I've been bombarding you with
Oh.
questions. I just have a couple more. One of them is you mentioned that you did go to therapy in the past,
Hmm.
and you were never officially diagnosed with anything, right?
No, no, they weren't psychologists or psychiatrists or anything.
Okay.
So,
Um, and you also mentioned that, like throughout your life, you've kind of felt anxiety, and sometimes you felt like ups and downs, where you might
hmm,
think that you went through a period of depression, right?
yeah, I don't know if it was depression, but it was
Okay.
depressive. Yeah.
Okay. On a different note, do you take any medications right now?
No, no
No?
medications.
Okay. Um, and can I ask, what would be the main outcome of therapy for you?
I guess I just want to feel, I don't want to feel like this pressure, this weight on me. Like I just want to, I used to enjoy doing things. I'd like to be that guy again.
Okay. That's something we can definitely work together towards achieving. Um,
Hmm.
I would love to talk more about it with you. We're getting closer to the end, but I guess I wanted to just kind of touch back a little bit of what we talked today.
Hmm.
You've mentioned how you've gone through a couple, oh, sorry, two divorces, but your main concern has always been your children. Um, you also mentioned that when you were younger, your parents divorced, and that kind of created a space for you in which you had the physical and material things, but you didn't really get that emotional bond that
Hmm.
you wanted. And on the other note, you mentioned how your family has had alcoholism running through, um, that affected their lives and, in a sense, affected your life as well.
Hmm.
Um, you mentioned how that didn't really affect you, but you did use alcohol at some point in your life, but you stopped it about 12 years ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Um, and you've been doing therapy on and off, kind of getting to know yourself better. And from what I've gathered so far, is that you have a pretty well understanding of yourself, your thoughts and feelings. Um, One of the main things that you came for is because you've been feeling quite down lately, lack of energy, um, work really drains you, and you feel that going into social events are not what it's not what it used to be before, and now you just
Hmm.
don't have that energy to do it, or you don't look forward to it. Um, so the main goal of reaching out and seeking support is just going back to how you were before, with that energy, being able to socialize and like interact with people and have energy to do everything that you want in your day to day. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, yeah, that sounds right.
Okay, that's perfect, and that's something we can definitely work together with. Can I ask if you have any questions for me?
Well, I don't think so, no.
Okay, well, it was really nice to meet you, Michael. Um,
Yeah,
I will be sending you some forms just for you to fill out and give me a little bit more information on certain things, and for you to also know. Um, but if you ever have any questions, please reach out to me and I'll answer as quick as I can.
all right. Well, thank you for today.
All right. Thank you so much.